Okay, hey guys, welcome to a little mini tutorial where I'm going to show you the way I created the mech stamps. Some of them I created in 3D Studio Max just for the shape itself, but I'll show you how to go through it completely in ZBrush because there's some things you can get away with in ZBrush that you can't really do in Max, and it's a lot faster as well. So I'm just starting with a default sphere. And I turned on Dynamesh at a pretty high resolution, 384 is what I'm using. And then I turn on Dynamesh and turn on radial symmetry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this brush, it's going to be like a mechanical brush, and it's going to work negatively. So in order to use the insert brush, you have to hold the Alt key. And so because of that, when we're actually making the brush, we want to think about everything inversely. And you'll kind of see what I mean by that. And an important thing to note is when you're making one of these brushes, the orientation does matter. I checked a few times to see what my radial symmetry was, and then you saw I had to go ahead through and fix that. And I think it's on the Z-axis right now. But a good guide is if you have the floor on the Y-axis, the floor, you see the little blue line on the floor. If you're going to create a negative insert brush, then you want to do all the details on that side, on the blue side. And if you're going to make it a positive insert brush, you want to do it on the opposite side, because it will flip the mesh when you use an insert brush and you swap between positive and negative. It'll flip those, so it's just a good thing to keep track of. And so I'm just kind of trying to define the shape I want, just something to cut into, a little mechanical detail, maybe some kind of valve or something. I'm not quite sure yet. This is the top of the brush. It's not going to be used, so I kind of stopped working on it. But basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that there is the middle portion, which is going to kind of be the buffer area. You'll kind of see it when you actually apply the brush. But there's going to be a huge buffer area in a lot of the brushes to where when you're drawing it negatively onto the shape, it's just to make sure that you're cutting away enough of the shape. And so that big, the largest radius on this piece is buffer, basically. So I'm just using the H polish brush, a lot of the trim dynamic brush, a lot of the Damien standard brush, and that's pretty much it. And okay, so I'm trying to make a little hole in here. And remember, everything's negative, so when I say hole, what I really mean is I'm going to build the shape up really high. So I'm going to mask off a part of this after I turn off perspective. I should have turned off symmetry for that, so it would calculate faster, but I didn't. So, and then I'm just going to transpose this out. And there's a lot of stretched polygons there, but after you re-Dynamesh the mesh, it'll just be completely fine. It'll retain some of that stretching, but once you smooth it out, you can just smooth it out with radial symmetry applied, and it'll look great. It'll look great. Okay, cool. So I mean, this looks like a good starting point. And so now I'm going to make the little separations between the pieces. So I'm kind of thinking the outside area is the main mechanical body, and then there's a little cut into it. And to show that there's separation between those two pieces of metal, I'm going to use the Damien standard brush and pull things out. Since we're working negatively, if we were working positively, you'd push it in, but you just got to think of everything backwards. It's kind of a challenge, but it's really fun too. And I'm just going to use the standard brush to kind of push that in a little bit and make it just a little bit rounded for the shape. And then use the Damien standard brush again to make another cut in the material. And since there's a little bit of stretching there, we can just re-Dynamesh and that'll look great. So that looks pretty good. And now the reason I'm gonna build up this this part of the mesh right here, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to make it so the transition between the mesh we're cutting into and the cut itself is a little bit rounded. So I'm trying to build this up and then kind of make it have a contour in, so it's not just a sharp surface change. It'll help it kind of sit well together. So I want to push that in because I want the contour to be, I want the inside of the contour to be facing outwards. And so that's the profile there, basically what it's going to be like cutting into the mesh. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this this tool just in case I want it later, because you can always use these and make new brushes from them. So now I'm going to go up to the brush palette, and I'm going to select one of the insert brushes. You can select any of them. I just selected Insert Sphere. And then in the brush palette, go to Modifiers. And then in that little icon area, just select your Z tool. And so now I'm just going to go on a default sphere and make Polymesh 3D and then Dynamesh it so I can test things out. The sphere needs to be higher resolution for this to work properly, so I'm going to up the resolution on the Dynamesh. I'm going to spherize it a little bit, and then re-Dynamesh. Cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw this on here, and you can see the little contour that I'm talking about on the top. That's where I was going with that. Alright, so that looks pretty good. The lip is a little bit off on the top, the very top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use Transpose, and I'm going to move the Z tool of my stamp a little bit backwards. And it's a good idea to experiment with polish on and off and to see the kinds of different results that'll give you. So you see I just turn polish on just to kind of see what happens. And you'll notice the smaller I draw it, it was creating errors, and that's because it's a sphere. And since it draws directly on top of the sphere, it doesn't, the brush itself doesn't actually contour to the sphere, so it matters how big you draw it. The bigger you draw it, the more will be cut off. So you see, if I draw it too small, that little lip that I created will kind of sink into the top of the sphere, and that's not what I want. So change that a little bit. Just trying to check things out, make sure everything's okay. And so one way to, if you can't think negatively, you can just go down to the display properties and flip all of the polygons. And that makes it a lot easier to see what you're doing. I'm going to finish out the brush like this, because it's a little bit easier to see. The other way is challenging, it's like a puzzle. It's a lot of fun, but this is faster. Faster is good. So I'm just going to push that in a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm going to create a kind of just a little surface detail. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little cut, if you will. That's a little bit too much though. I only want 2 cuts on the side, so I'm just going to up the radial count. And then cut that in there. And pinch it up a little bit just to make it look more clean. And then drop the radial count down to 2. and it looks pretty good. So I'll just pinch that out a little bit. Cool, so I think this mesh is pretty much done, or the brush is pretty much done. I just want to test it out once more. I'm lost, if you can tell. I can't find an insert brush, but I found a cylinder one there, and we'll just roll with that. So I want to just go ahead and select the object, go down to our sphere that we were testing on before, and then just try it out, see how it goes. Alright, and that looks pretty cool. So that's one technique of creating a mechanical insert brush. And once you're done making the brush, it's good to make an icon for it so you can tell which brush is which. So I'm going to make it really big on the sphere, cut into it. It's going to look a little bit different. This isn't what the brush is going to look like I said, because the bigger you draw it, the more is going to be cut away. But if you go to the brush and then you hold Alt and click Select Icon, it'll choose, or it'll make a print screen of your mesh that you have up right now. And so I went to the toy plastic material because that's the one that is used in all the other icons. So I want everything to match prettily. And then just click Alt, click brush icon, and then save out your brush. Or select icon and then save out your brush. And that's it.